Tonight is really about finding out information. We've been doing a lot of work with clubs over the last 18 months, and one thing that they come back time and time again is, can you help us look at the finances? Can you introduce us to gift aid? How can we get better fundraising ideas and things like that? So this is the first of probably several workshops that we're going to organise over the coming months and year to really start to support clubs in this area. Tonight I'm absolutely delighted. We've got two fantastic gentlemen who are actually very entertaining, and it'll be a really interesting and an open workshop. We're also joined tonight by Nigel Hall, our Chief Executive from Scottish Athletics, and a number of the regional managers are scattered about the room as well. I'm not going to introduce them individually. So I'm going to introduce John Ross, Anthony Drew from Ogilvie Ross, consultants by trade, however heavily involved in business, heavily involved in sport, so much so they're now giving their wonderful expertise to sports clubs across the country. The challenge I gave them was our clubs need to work out a way of fundraising £8,000 to £10,000 per year on top of what they already do. So that's the remit I've given them. We've had a brief chat, but it'll be interesting to see how they deliver. I've seen some of the stuff they deliver before, and it's quite entertaining and engaging, so I'm sure I'm setting them up for a fall here, really, aren't I now? But so that is the remit I gave them, and that is what they're going to follow tonight, and looking at the building blocks of financial stability for clubs. So I'm going to stop talking, and I'm just going to hand straight over to John. So
thanks very much, Mark. Thanks very much on the John Ross part. Really is a pleasure to be here tonight. A lot of what we're going to see tonight is split into three parts. We're going to spend a little bit of time looking at the club we've been involved in, because this all came about us talking to people, because yes, we're involved in business, but actually we're also involved at grassroots level in a sports club. And about a year ago I attended a seminar looking at club development, and frankly I didn't think it was very good, and I mentioned that to the funders who had funded it and said that wasn't very good. And they said, well, why not? I said, well, because it was an academic talking about stuff, and do you know what, we're right down here at grassroots, we don't have access to all this stuff, we're here, and it didn't help. And being, as you will see tonight goes on, fairly forthright in the way I say things, he turned around and said, well, could you do better? So I fired, I was, yeah, of course I could. He said, well, go on then. So actually we went away and had a chat with Ant, and we came up with something, which they said, okay, go and present it, and we did. And bizarrely for us, all of a sudden people came and said, that was really good. We'd like you to do more of this stuff and talk to more people. So tonight is split into three parts. The first part is really that story. And it's a thing called What If No One Turns Up? And it talks about what we've done over the last 10 years with a sports club. And the reason we're doing it is really to try and give you some idea where we come from in terms of why we're standing talking to you tonight. The next part, and we'll take a comfort break because we've got kind of around about 3 hours. To try and sit here for 3 hours and talk to you about financial planning and sustainability would be the dullest thing imaginable. So we're going to have a lot of fun tonight as well, and hopefully you'll see the first part is quite entertaining. The second part, we really look at the question we were asked some time ago, and we came up with what we consider to be 5 key steps in developing a club and making it sustainable. And we're going to run through those things, but we don't do that in the conventional way. And there are a couple of people that came up to one of the events that we did up in Perth earlier on in the year, and they're not allowed to cheat during the pop quiz, because we're going to do it as a pop quiz. So you are going to be interactive and you are going to get involved in this. So those of you that thought it was a nice 3 hours sitting down watching a PowerPoint presentation, it's not that at all. We'll then take another break, and then when we come back, the final part is looking at financial sustainability. And that's unscripted, because actually it's the way we prefer to work when we're dealing with what we would classify as the corporate clients we deal with, and we can talk about that later on. But it's going to be completely unscripted. We know what we want to talk about, but actually what we need to do is to get you all talking, because our belief is that within the people in this room you can answer most of the problems you're going to come up with in terms of financial sustainability. You just need to start exchanging ideas, and we want to find out what you're doing. Ant and I, when we're looking at consultancy work, we use an acronym called CASE, C-A-S-E, which stands for copy and steal everything. And what we want to do is we want to find out what you're doing and actually get you talking to other people, because that way you start to generate ideas. And if anything for us tonight, the challenge that Mark set us is not to turn around and say, okay, here's 5 things you do, and if you do that one you'll get that amount of money, and if you do that one you'll get that amount of money. It's actually to get you thinking about your club, your organisation, and a whole load of new ideas that can then start to create new things for you, because that's how you become sustainable. You can only follow someone else's guide for so long before actually you lose interest in it. It needs to be yours. So that's the way it's going to work, if that's okay. I'm also just getting over a chest infection, so if I start coughing, I'm very sorry. But it's just the way it is. Okay, so my name's John Ross. Anthony Drew. We're partners in a firm called Ogilvie Ross, which in theory has nothing whatsoever to do with sport. It's actually a commercial project management company. But we get involved in leadership and other things. But bizarrely, about 10 years ago, we started getting involved in sport. So, what we're going to look at is a thing called What If No One Turns Up? And this was a seminar that we developed in response to that aspect of what can you do better? And we thought it was a very apt title because it's one of the most commonly asked questions anytime we do anything with the club. And our club is actually a cricket club. So though it's not athletics, those of you that think, well, I'm not interested in cricket, I'm athletics, let's just sort of broaden our mind here and think about that the challenges we face are probably the same challenges you face and a lot of other things. And it was, what if no one turns up, is the way it was looking. So, as you can see, most of you will have worked out I'm not a natural athlete. In fact, I left school at 18, and on the last day of school was the last bit of sport I did for something like 17 years. Because I left school and sport wasn't part of anything I did. I went off. Now, I'm involved in sport 7 days a week. We finish here tonight, I go home, go to bed, get up tomorrow and drive a disability cricket team to Manchester for a weekend, and then I come back. Ant and I are coaching 4 or 5 nights in a week, and somehow I'm now on the board of Cricket Scotland to try and help them develop their strategies. So how on earth did I get involved in sport and why? Well, it's quite simple. It was actually because of these two guys. The one on the left is called James and the one on the right is called Peter. James at this stage is about 10, Peter's about 9. And I was a parent. Are there any other parents in the room? 1 or 2. Have you ever had to go to all the sporting events and sit about? Well, so did I. And so did my wife. And what we found was we were going to lots and lots of these things. And actually they were quite good at cricket. They were doing all sorts of other sport. They did athletics, they did tennis, they did judo, they did swimming, they did all these sorts of things. But actually their real passion was cricket. And they started to become quite good at it. And I started to get more and more involved in it. And as a result of that, we live in Kinross, and we thought, well, we need to try and get them involved in a club. And round about, I think it was, 2002, I think it was, there was a little advert in the local newsletter in Kinross about all the clubs and things like that. And this pretty much was the ad. I'm not a complete nerd here. I don't photocopy everything that's ever gone in my life because I might need it in a presentation. So if you allow a little bit poetic license here, I've used the internet and all that sort of stuff to sometimes create things. And this is one of them. So I'd never been to an AGM before. I'd never been involved in a sports club, but I thought, well, I'll go along because the boys are interested and let's have a go. So there it was. So I phoned up the secretary and said, I'd like to come along. Nice chap. He said, that's great. It's in the rugby club. Come along. So I thought, super. And I go along and I've got a mental image of an AGM. And I thought, well, I'll go in there. It's probably going to be quite busy because it's at the rugby club, big event. And there'll probably be a top table and there'll be the chairman, the treasurer and all these sort of folk there answering questions. And I thought, well, you know, hopefully I'll get a chance to ask some questions myself, but there we are. So that was what was in my mind. Okay, this is what I went to. Now, again, this is where the, I didn't take that photograph. That is an internet picture. When I went there, we had 3 people. We had the chairman, the treasurer, and the secretary. And they were the people at the AGM. But it was pretty much like that. They were all sitting around a table. So I sort of wandered over and said, is this the cricket club AGM? Yes, great, come in and sit down, everything else. I said, oh, thanks very much. And they handed me a piece of paper and said, here's the agenda. I thought, righty-ho, so here's the agenda. Apologies for everyone that wasn't here. Minutes of last year, which they didn't really have. They have £11.17 in the bank, and item 4, we're going to close the club. So, got off to a cracking start at my first ever AGM. And I said, well, why are you closing the club? He said, we've only got 8 people. Now, for those of you that are not really into cricket, you need 11. So we're sort of sitting there, so we don't actually have enough to put out a team. And I said, all right, well, I'm here and I've got 2 boys. That would give us 11. And basically, we sort of spent the next hour chatting about various problems with life and cricket clubs and all sorts of stuff. But I said, look, well, we'll join. And I'll pay my membership now. And they said, well, that's great, it's £10 each. I said, right, well, there's £30. And the treasurer's now almost got tears in his eyes. He said, we've never had so much money. He said, this is amazing. And I said, well, have you paid? And they said, well, no, we've not paid. I said, well, if you pay as well, we've got enough to buy some balls and stuff. And so off we went, and that was it. I was now involved in Kinross Cricket Club. And what we were playing, that's pretty much it. Again, it's not real, it's a photograph of a cricket match, but it sums it up. It's fat old guys in shorts and kids and folk, and that's what we're doing. We're lobbing a ball down and hoping, digging the seat, you can hit the ball and hope for the best. And that was what we were playing. And it was very nice, and on a Sunday we'd all go out, and mainly I was there for the teas, but we would sort of just have a go at playing cricket. But I got involved in the management. I said, I think there's more to this, and the boys were really progressing. By this stage, they were both now playing representative cricket for Scotland, so they were really keen to develop and go forward. So around about 2004, I sat down with my wife and I said, I think we can really do something with this club. I'd like to try and do something. I'd like to get involved in it. I've quite enjoyed it. Let's do something. So we've called it A New Dawn. Now, is there anyone here ever seen Star Wars? Yeah. Anyone here like Star Wars? Yeah. You're going to enjoy tonight. There's a lot of references in here. I like films, you see. There's a lot of stuff coming. It's not the conventional seminar. A lot of the fun aspect comes into this. So in 2004, we decided it was A New Dawn. And I went to the committee and I said, juniors are the future. We need to get kids involved in this club. Now, I thought that was a fairly sensible plan. I thought, well, look, there's not that many older people that want to play cricket, but let's get the kids, because my two seem to enjoy it, and they've got pals who want to come along, it'll be great. I was absolutely stunned to find about 50% of the club said, absolutely not. I do not want children coming here. This is my time. I'm saying, hang on a minute, we've had to call off 4 matches because we haven't got enough people, and you're saying you don't want kids. No, I don't want anything to do with kids. I'm a teacher during the day. I do not want my social time being spent with kids. So I actually went to the vote. Yes or no, are we going to do it? And we actually had the vote. And it was decided, yes, we would have juniors in the club. And we said, right, that's great, fantastic. And the 3 guys who objected turned around and said, oh, that's fine, we resign. We're leaving. Goodbye, we're off.
Back down to 8 again.
And off they went. Oh, that's okay, because I'd sort of banked up some kids anyway, so I could bring them in. So yeah, we were now in a situation of saying, right, we're going to have juniors. So during the winter of 2004, we decided to put ourselves through coaching. We had no money. I've got to emphasise, we were playing in a public park in Kinross called the Mire, and that was a picturesque description of what we were playing. It was a 15-year-old artificial that was ripped at both ends and had a flappy bit that you had to actually nail down. They cut the grass once a month. And again, for those of you not entirely familiar with cricket, it involves a ball running along the grass. If you hit the ball into grass that's that high, it doesn't roll very far. So it was never high-scoring matches. But we managed to, basically the coaches paid their own money. And they paid for their own coaching courses because the club didn't have any money. But we managed to get 3 coaches. And we made an application to a charity called the Lord Taverners and said, could we possibly get a kit bag because we want juniors? And they sent us up a quick cricket bag. And we were absolutely overjoyed. So we've now got 3 qualified coaches. And we've got a kit bag. So we thought, here we are, 2005, first time it crops up. What if no one turns up? This is an April evening. What was that? 8 years ago. And we say, well, what if no kids come? What if no one turns up? Thankfully, in that first season, the first night, 8 children turned up. We were absolutely ecstatic. We had no idea what we were going to do. We'd done the course, which was great. You do all this stuff in the course and you think, fantastic. It was walked out there live with 8 kids going, what do we do now? And off we went. But we managed to sort of get through those first sessions. And each week more kids were coming because kids were saying that was really great and they were coming back. And the whole emphasis for us was fun. We weren't worried about competition. We weren't worried about anything else. It was just, can we have lots and lots of fun? And as it progressed, the numbers started to grow. That was our cricket pitch. So the next time you see cricket on the telly, like the IPL or something like that, and they've got these massive stadiums, well, that was our equivalent. Next to the council houses, and there's this old mat, and we managed to cobble bits and pieces together. The stumps there, I actually made those in my garage out of an old stool because we couldn't afford to buy proper foldy uppy down stumps, but I managed to make that out of an old stool. And that was us. So that was our first season. It was Heath Robinson, and it was just try and pull the whole thing together as best we can because we've got no money. But we were immensely proud that there we are. We managed to put out our first junior team at the end of 2005, and that was them. That was an under-13 team, and we played Carlton, a team from Edinburgh, for a guy that was on the same course I was on, and we won. And we were absolutely ecstatic that we actually won this match. The interesting thing from that picture, the concept of juniors of the future, that was our first ever junior team. 5 of those guys now play in our first 11. They've gone through the club. They're now coaching with us And as you'll see, we'll talk a little bit more about those kids that came through and where they are now. It's had a fundamental impact on some of them. So that was it, that was our first season. We then had the winter, 2006, great expectations. We thought we had something here, we thought we were into a winner. We'd seen what other people were doing and we thought we were doing it a wee bit better, and that we could actually have some plans for 2006. So we entered the Scottish Cup. Here we are, we've got a team, let's do something with it. We haven't got any league fixtures, we'll enter the Scottish Cup. So we entered the Scottish Cup at under 13s and won it in our first season. Absolutely fantastic. There we are. Gosh, we're looking a bit smarter than the ones the year before, but there we are. We've actually won the Scottish Cup. And there's the coaches, there's the team, absolutely delighted. We also then had some conversations because the mire really wasn't very good. And in fact, the training night we had when the local ne'er-do-wells decided that they would actually chuck their bucky bottles at us and their stones and everything else. And it kind of, we realised this is not quite as good as we'd hoped. But we had a conversation. In fact, no, I'll be truthful. I got the landowner drunk. We held a junior awards night, and I invited the guy who owns Kinross House because I knew he'd play cricket to come along. And I actually bought the equivalent of a bottle of Macallan from the bar. And at the end of the night, he turns around to me. He's a great old chap, and he turns around to me in a sort of, as he's going towards the car. He was being driven home. He wasn't driving, but he turns around and he says, "I tell you what, John. I've always thought it would be lovely to have a cricket pitch at Kinross House. Would you like to do that?" And I said, "So David, that'd be absolutely lovely. Super, super. See me next week." And off we went. So we now had this idea of building a cricket pitch at Kinross House, which is a lovely, well, it's an amazing setting. So there we are, we're coming into 2007, we've got even greater expectations now. We've decided to go to the Scottish Cup again, different team, but we're going into the under 15s this year as well. Bang, we won both of them as well. On the same day, first time it had ever been done. So we won the under 13 Cup and the under 15 championships on the same day at two different venues. Fantastic. We also start to build the ground at Kinross House. We'll talk about how we raised the money and everything else. We had no idea what we were doing, by the way. Well, and you will see as this goes on, we had not a clue about what we were doing. But we just decided we would do it anyway. So there's Ant and I. We didn't hand roll that. There was actually a machine does that, in case you thought we'd kind of moved it. There is a machine, but it had moved out of the way. So that's us trying to look all sophisticated and look at us building the ground. But and that's us building the pavilion. We built that. Club members built it. We managed to raise the money and we built it. And one of the mums made a cake for our official opening. So we actually moved to Kinross House. And this is what we looked like in 2007.
It wasn't easy, but nothing it ends. No. When I'm feeling it all, and I'm feeling it all. When I'm easy, all of the time, and I'm never sure when I need you. It's nothing to try. When I was young, it's not my problem. It's not my problem.
That's to try and give you a flavour of where we were by 2007. We use video quite a lot within the club. We're very fortunate that Ant has a camera and knows how to use it. And we'll come on to talk about things later. We use it as a mechanism to talk to people within the club and the wider community. So we do a lot of video stuff. But by 2007, we've now got 18 coaches, we've got 6 parental helpers, about 108 children, and we've now decided to set up a ladies and girls section as well. We're also running things like the inter-schools competitions, and all sorts of things are now being run there that we're involved in. 2008 was kind of okay, didn't do anything wildly exciting. Even greater expectation in 2009. We actually hosted an international match at Kinross House. Part of the European Championships. I'd been talking to the various organisers saying, look, we're a fantastic place, come and see what we're doing here. So we actually had the Guernsey-Denmark Under-15 European Championship match played at our ground, which was fantastic. We've now got 25 coaches and about 120 kids turning up every Monday. Add to that all the various helpers that are going on there. So we've kind of grown it in the space of about 4 or 5 years to a fairly substantial level. And we've now competed in every Scottish Cup since 2005, and we've made the finals every year, and we've won them 3 times. So you know, we're doing the right things, but we've also got 120 kids, and the vast majority of whom will never go beyond playing whatever level of cricket they're at, but we're really not bothered about that. What then happened was quite surprising. We were then contacted by Wisden Cricketer, which is the world's leading cricket magazine, in June, and they said, look, we'd like to do a feature on you because we've heard all about you, we think it's fantastic, we want to name you Club of the Month. And we said, wonderful, terrific. End of the year they came back and said, we're so impressed, we're actually naming you the Wisden Cricketer Club of the Year. We were about to go through, for us, an unprecedented 15 minutes of fame. Suddenly we're on the major pages of the major papers. And the best one, we didn't write any of this, they wrote this, and the best one for us was really Scots Cricket Club is the best in the world, and the Scotsman put that in. Boy, the mileage we got on that. What I mean by mileage is it went global. I had no idea about social media, I didn't really understand the internet and all this sort of stuff, but what we suddenly found was we were actually back page news in Argentina, Italy, India, Australia, New Zealand, all across the world. And we were getting emails coming in, and actually from that we set up a link. Bizarrely, there's a Kinross Cricket Club in Western Australia, 16 miles south of Perth. And we now have a link with Kinross Cricket Club, south of Perth in Western Australia. And actually on the 7th of May, one of their guys is coming over and playing for us this summer, and we're going to send someone over there next year. So we've really got a strong link between them, so that we start to build on this. But it gave us 15 minutes of fame, and it was absolutely fantastic. All of a sudden, everyone wants to talk to us. We're starting to win awards left, right and centre, which was great because actually more people wanted to come and talk to us and get involved. 2010, the ladies section won both indoor titles. We won the league for the 3rd time, which gained us promotion into the Premier Division, and that's some of the folk that turned up at junior awards nights. Junior awards nights for us has about 300 people pitching up to see kids, and we do everything from the participation level where they get a certificate because they can basically throw a ball in a straight line and catch something. But from there it's hugely important. Mum and dad come along, siblings, granddad, everything else, folk are videoing it. And it's a huge night. So by 2010, we were pretty well sitting up there. And then I got a phone call. There's Kinross House, wonderful ground at Kinross House, and I got a phone call and said, John, just to let you know, we've sold the house. And the new owner, whilst he quite likes cricket, he might not be that interested in you staying there. And we thought, okay, let's meet with him, and we met with him, and he said, no, I've got no problems at all. I thought, oh, fantastic. He said, obviously I don't want you there every night of the week. And we said, oh, right, okay, well, that's junior training and matches. He said, and I don't want every weekend either. In fact, is it all right if I tell you when you can play? I said, well, it doesn't really work in quite as well. So the house got sold, and we went from being up here, on top of the world, and just thinking, it can't get any better for us. It certainly couldn't get any better, but it could certainly get a lot worse. And here we are, the Star Wars thing comes in again. In 2011, how can people not like cricket? We went through an absolutely horrendous time, which actually made the press again, and we were back in the press. I'm not going to put those newspaper articles up because they're not so nice. We actually were offered land to go and build a new cricket ground because everyone was so interested in what we were, the real heart of the community. They said, come and build a new ground, here's a field. And we said, well, terrific. So we met with the residents who live around it and said, hi, we'd like to build a cricket pitch. Boy, I was not prepared for that one. I was unaware of the fact that cricket was a hugely dangerous sport that kills children. I kid you not. And all the local residents objected. They didn't want children there making noise. It was far too dangerous. And unfortunately it got to the point where we're saying, no, we're trying to explain. So we don't want floodlights. I said, well, that's good now. No, we haven't applied for floodlights. What we actually want to do is convert that into a flat piece of grass to play cricket. We don't want floodlights. You'll have a subsidised bar. I said, we're not having a bar at all. It's a family club, there's no bar. Yes, you will. You'll do that later on. No, we won't. And unfortunately, it got quite horrible for us when they turned around and said, if you go there, we'll burn it down. This is the residents. We'll burn the cricket ground down. So we backed off of that and said, okay, well, this is not particularly great. We've nowhere to play. There's nowhere for the kids to go. We're actually now struggling. We've now set up disability cricket. We've got women's cricket. And the whole thing actually became a really horrible time for us. And we had to just try and struggle through. Revenues plummeted because we haven't got anywhere to go. And 2011 was pretty much us bottoming out. But by 2013, we're really coming back into a new hope. I told you the Star Wars themes were in there all the time. And what we had there was someone else came along and said, well, I've got this field. If you want, you can convert it into a cricket pitch. Because I like cricket and I haven't got any neighbours. They're too far away. That's the neighbours there and we don't have to consult with them because they're miles away. He said, if you want to, you can build a cricket ground here. So again, we're back in this situation of having built one. We're now in there saying, right, okay. So I met with a chap, a guy called Rob Niven, and he owns Lochleven's Larder, and he said, you can build a cricket ground there. And I said, great, Rob, fantastic. Shakes hands. I said, that's fantastic. Got in the car and went, how the hell did you build a cricket ground? I've no idea. How did you turn a field into a cricket ground? So I phoned up Anne, and I phoned up a few other people, and I said, hey, we've been offered this land, it's fantastic. And they all said, well, how did you build a cricket ground? Oh, I don't know. How much will it cost? I don't know. Basically, we don't know any of this. We're back into that stage of, we've no idea what we're doing. But the fact is, someone's offered us land, so I think we should go for it. And again, we asked the question, is it big enough? I said, I don't know. I don't know how big a cricket ground needs to be. The only cricket ground I've ever been involved in is the one that we were given at Kinross House, and it was just someone's lawn. But anyway, we sat down, we looked at it and said, well, there we are. There's an aerial photo of Google, and this is what we can do. So there's the larder there, we can have a car park there, we'll put a pavilion there, and we'll have 2 pitches. If we're going to do it, let's have 2. We'll have a big pitch for the seniors, and we'll have a wee pitch for the kids. Because it'd be fantastic. If you're 11 years old and you walk out on a great big pitch, it's just, you're swamped. So how about we've actually got a pitch that's in miniature? So that for an 11-year-old to walk out, and it has wee side screens, and it's got the boundary rope round it, and they've got their pads on, and they walk out to their little cricket pitch, and everyone's watching them on theirs, it'll just be fantastic and they'll love it. So we said, right, we're going to build 2 cricket pitches. So that was it. So we've decided we're going to do that. Our first junior night was last Monday. And the Monday just gone past. We've actually moved there now. We still don't know how to build a cricket pitch, but what we have been able to do is it got planted with grass, and that's a starting point for us. And we don't have a pavilion yet because we had no idea that you actually have to get approval from SEPA to do plumbing that complies with left, right and centre, and that we can't just stick a thing in the ground and put a pipe in and do that. So that's taken us about 1.5 years, but we're kind of getting through that and figuring out how to do it. But now we're there. We turned up on Monday and it was a fantastic night up until 6:02 when the heavens opened and we all got absolutely drenched and we all got back in our cars and went away again. But we're there now. So actually we've got a chance to rebuild and have a new start. We now have more than £11.17 in the bank. We've got about £3,000 in the bank. And we've committed to spending £250,000 building a cricket ground. Where are we going to get that money from? I don't know. But what I do know is we'll find out when we start the process and we'll figure out how to do it. We won't go and spend money we don't have, but we'll go out and find it. And why do we go through all of this? Why do Ant and I and all the other people give up so much of their time? And I pulled this slide together when I did this because we really do make a difference to things. And I want to talk you through the 6 pictures. The picture on the top left is a girl called Zoe Conway. Zoe is 16 now. Never really involved in sport. She started getting involved in cricket when she was at primary school as a P4. Zoe now plays cricket for Scotland, and it's changed her life. It's changed her entire outlook of everything. So she was in Dubai earlier this year playing in a competition out there. So a girl who had never been involved in sport, wasn't at all sporty, now has actually represented her country in Dubai. She's done her coaching certificates and she now wants to have a career in sport. Bottom right hand corner, that's Portmoat Primary School, winning their 3rd Perth and Kinross quick cricket competition. They were so inspired by what we did, and it's just a small primary school, but they got involved in it because we have now been able to get all our coaches in, and our coaches provide the cricket in the area and all the schools and things like that. We can talk about that later. But that's them winning their 3rd cup, and I had a wonderful moment that one of the wee boys that's in there, I was in our local supermarket and I was about 2 people back when him and his mum were there, and it was a fairly miserable night, but Oliver's there and he's up at they're scanning all this stuff and paying the bill and everything else. And he went to the checkout and said, oh, what have you done today? And he just burst into life. And he just said, it was fantastic. I was playing cricket and I did this and we won the cup and we did that. And I just looked at him and I thought, wow, that actually is why we're doing this. Kirsty Girl in the wheelchair, Kirsty Clark. Kirsty is... Sometimes you'll see Kirsty wandering around and you would think there's nothing wrong with her, and other times Kirsty's in a wheelchair and she can't control that. But Kirsty is involved in cricket with us. She's going to be doing coaching qualifications this year. And there's a wonderful story about Kirsty that we're incredibly proud of. We broke Kirsty's wheelchair playing cricket. She loved it. And what she did, she came to her dad had phoned up and said, it's ladies training and it's indoors over the winter, and he said, but unfortunately Kirsty's in a wheelchair today. I said, that's fine, just bring her up. He says, well, I'm not. I said, honestly, just bring her up. It's never stopped us before. So she came up in her wheelchair. It's not a sports wheelchair she has, she just has a normal straightforward wheelchair. So she came up and we paired her up with Zoe, and Kirsty's batting. So what you have to do is modify the bowling. You bounce the ball, she's in the chair and she whacks it, and then Zoe, if we're going to do a run, sets off. In hindsight, pairing her up with Zoe was not the best move I've ever made, because Zoe's very competitive now, and so is Kirsty. So they start heading off, and what they have to do is, instead of go up and come back, which you can't really do easily in a wheelchair, they have to go round. Well, they try to go round so fast, going round this thing, that Kirsty's sort of hanging this way, trying to keep her weight that way, and it's going around. The whole thing goes up on one wheel, and we actually managed to rip the wheel off her wheelchair. Well, we ripped the rubber off. So what you then got, she's gone around the corner, so it's now completely done-in wheel. That didn't stop Zoe and Kirsty, they're off again. So it's this whole thing's going down. And we get to the end, and we had a great laugh, and she was loving it, and we're all thinking this is fantastic, and I thought, oh no, I've got to go and tell her dad we've just wrecked her wheelchair. Because she'd got a lift up, but she couldn't get a lift back in the same car, so I said I'd take the wheelchair back. So anyway, she heads off, I take the wheelchair back, and I'm going up the drive, so I'm clunking this wheelchair. Rang the doorbell, thinking, right, I'm going to have to explain to him I've broken the wheelchair. And he opens the door, a huge smile on his face. I said, hi Graham, I just want to say we've broken the wheelchair. He says, yeah, I know, I've seen it on YouTube. I said, sorry? He says, oh, one of Kirsty's pals who was sitting out and wasn't batting at the time, she said, can you video this when I'm batting so that I can show my mum and dad batting? And they thought it was so funny when they broke the wheelchair and she's going up and down. She batted for about 5 minutes in this broken wheelchair. And they said, no, it's on YouTube, we all saw it when she got back. And that meant a huge amount to me, because she thought this was just the best thing that happened. And she went into school the following day and said, I broke my wheelchair playing cricket. Wonderful. Jim is 76 and plays cricket in the community sixes every year. He's blind in one eye, not very mobile, but every year he pitches up and plays cricket. That for us is what we're about. It's about the wee kids and the guys who have seen the better years of their life in terms of cricketing. And then the other two pictures, well, going back to those first two wee boys that got me involved in cricket. The one at the bottom, James. James is now a professional coach. In fact, it'd be nice if James was here tonight, but he's not. He's through in Glasgow as a guest of Sport Scotland, because he won the Young Coach of the Year award earlier this year and was then shortlisted for the UK finals of Coach of the Year. And he's through tonight at a gala dinner through in Glasgow with Sport Scotland. And he is now professionally working in cricket, having done his degree in Edinburgh. He's decided he's going to work in cricket. So it made a difference to his life. And then the annoying one up there on the right, that's my other son, Peter. He is now one step away from a professional career as a cricketer. He's down in Yorkshire where he plays his cricket. He's played internationally, he was out in Australia playing in the World Cup, and he was about to make his debut last week, and then the weather changed. But he will be a professional cricketer within the next 12 months. And it's made a difference to their lives. And what's made the difference is a bunch of parents who actually just got involved in a club. And although we had no idea what we were doing, and most of the time we still don't have any idea what we're doing, we actually just decided that we would go out there and do it anyway. And that was really where the start came for us, was to sit down and talk about club development. And that's the story of Kinross Cricket Club, really over the last 12 years. And what we wanted to use it for was so that we can try and tell you where we come from. What we're going to do tonight is not about an academic view of things. It's about a very practical viewpoint from people who have worked with no money to try and get clubs to a sustainable point. What we're going to talk about next is the five key steps of club development. Are there any questions on any of that before we really get into this and take a break? Oh, come on, there's smiley faces.
Guys that backed away at the start.
Sorry?
That's the two guys that backed away at the start.
We haven't seen them actually. Well, no, that's not true. One of them did actually swing by one time. I met him in Sainsbury's, and he grudgingly said, oh, it seems to be going well with the cricket club. I've seen a lot about that. I said, yeah, it's going pretty well. But it wasn't for him. And again, we recognised that. At first we were very upset. And we thought, well, we must be doing something wrong. But you know what? We just accepted that there are certain times in life when for some people that isn't the right path. And for them, it wasn't. I don't want to say that for Richard, unfortunately the other one died. Not because he took that choice, but because maybe it was. That's yes, there we are, cautionary tale. Don't give up on cricket, really bad for your health. No, they sort of walked away, and for them it was probably the right decision. I think they've missed out. But then maybe they aren't that interested in seeing the kids and seeing the joy that it gives them. And we get excited by small things that sort of run around. And just a kid who takes his catch for the first time, who's not been sporty. We've had a number of kids who you clearly see are the ones who get the butt of the joke at school because they don't play football and they're rubbish at most other sports. And one of the nice things about cricket is, I'm a testament to it, you don't actually have to be very good at sport to actually get on okay at cricket. Because for around about 90% of the time when you're fielding, you're standing way out of the way and the ball never comes. And it's fantastic. And if you actually have any influence with the captain, you can actually make sure that for 100% of the match, you are never where the ball is going to go. But you still get to run in when someone takes a wicket and be part of it in the team photos, and more importantly, the team. And I was commenting earlier on to Mark that it's nice to see an audience of pure athletes. Because had this been a cricket event, no one would have come in here until all the sandwiches and tea were gone, rather than just wandering through and leaving them through there. So it means a lot to us, and cricket's one of those great sports where kids who haven't really done anything before can get involved. And when you see them take a catch, or they score a run, or they get the first 4 they've ever hit, or we've got one wee lad last year who's come right the way through the club, and by his own admission he's not very good. But actually, he played for our first 11 because he's kind of getting to that age now where he needs to get involved in it. We were playing. Well, he was playing in a match at that sort of level, and he actually took a catch. You would have thought this guy just won the lottery. The fact that he actually took a catch, and it wasn't an easy one. He actually ran and took this catch, and the celebration when it was on, and every member of the team was straight up there, patting him on the back. Fantastic, Connor, that was brilliant. You got a catch, and he's there going, "That was my first ever catch." I said, "I know." He says, "Just brilliant." And he's now keen, he wants to play, and that for us, it means a huge amount. And I'm sure you get that in athletics. You get that little bit of success that someone has, and it just makes a heck of a difference. And when you've had the really horrible weather, and Ant and I are down the cricket ground trying to get everything done, and it's -5, and it's chucking it down the rain, and you're sitting there soaked, and you go back and think, I've had enough of this. And then something happens, and you just say, do you know what, that actually makes the whole weekend worth it, and you go through there. So yeah, they missed out. My view is they missed out. Any other questions about that part before we take a very quick break and then get into the pop quiz, which I know you're all bursting to do?
You still at Kinross House for your matches?
No,
No, at all.
no, that deal kind of fell through, which is a pity because it's a fabulous ground. The positive part of me says that was probably the best thing that could happen for us, because there were so many things we couldn't do, and there were so many annoying things. Because it's a listed building and it is a stately home, you might have a match on a Saturday, a match on a Sunday. On a Saturday night, absolutely everything had to be packed away and put out. And then you come back and it would be Ant and I, and it takes 3 hours to set up a cricket pitch. So 3 hours on a Saturday morning setting the whole thing up. About 2 hours at the end of the day to put it all away, and then come back again Sunday morning for 3 hours and put it all out again. And then finish and put it all away. Whereas what we really want to do is just leave it out. So Kinross House is gone, but the new ground at the Larder, much better. Although a bit windier. But on nights like tonight, it would be quite nice in there.